If you're endeavoring to find out what it is that you should be doing or how you should be spending your life, one of the biggest challenges that you're going to face as you try to determine this, or I guess uncover this is probably more accurate, is simply that you're surrounded by people. And you're surrounded by people who have a certain view of you. And that view of you comes with expectations, either expectations that you are to become a certain way or expectations that you are a certain way, or probably both. And people who you are in contact with, who you have a history with, come to rely on you being pretty much the same day in and day out and year after year. It's just a part of what we come to process and expect from those around us. There's a stability and a reliability in the sense that you are getting what you think you're getting when you go to a certain person. Right? If you think you've ever had a problem or an issue that you wanted to talk through with someone or hope that somebody could help you solve, you said, oh, I should call so and so because they are this way, or because they probably have knowledge of that. And so we all do it. And in that way, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but in the sense of if you are trying to determine what it is that you should do with your life or how you should spend it or you feel like, I guess for lack of a better term, your true calling is, you have to separate yourself from all of that noise and all of those relationships and people, and you have to go it alone and figure it out. And to be clear, I don't mean that you need to isolate yourself, alienate yourself, and then spend the rest of your life that way. I'm purely talking about if you want to come to a conclusion of what it is that you should be doing with your life or how you should be spending your time, the period in which you are trying to uncover that, you need to contemplate that alone. Now, the very practical reason why is for everything that I said at the beginning. Because if you're trying to determine this while there are people around you who have a certain perception and certain expectations of you, obviously you're going to continue to either run into that as sort of a conflict, or you're going to continually be persuaded by it. And if it's not what you actually should be becoming, then there's going to arise a natural conflict there, which may either just make it more challenging and more, I guess, painful, potentially, to discover what it is that you think you should be doing and to make those changes, or it might just make it altogether impossible because you can't really shut out the noise and even come to that determination. So, getting yourself away from all of those things and being able to, first of all, just sort of quiet the noise. And remember that noise will persist with you well beyond when you leave the presence of those places and people. There will be a period of time where the echoes will remain and you will have to just give it some time for those things to die down and go away. There's a term here that you could look up of hedonic adaptation. And this is sort of like how we, as humans, often quickly adapt to different lifestyle than we're used to. And it's actually quite shocking how adaptable and flexible people are, even though they often seem, when they're in their routine, very rigid and and very thrown by every small change that comes along. But if you make a big change, this hedonic adaptation will kick in, and you will actually get there much sooner than you might think. So those echoes will die down. And this gives you space and opportunity to just be observing and experiencing and listening and paying attention to what it is that comes from you naturally without any input. Now that's the practical considerations around this. I'm going to get slightly metaphysical now, not to shock anybody. Here's my take on the metaphysical element of this. We talk a lot about the duality of the world and opposites, and the way in which we know dark is because we know light, and the way in which we know sound is because we know silence. And in that same way, the way that you know you is because you know yourself in relation to others. And in a metaphysical sense, what you need to do is unite yourself with the singularity as opposed to the plurality or the duality that you experience when you are surrounded by others. And the reason for this, from a metaphysical standpoint, in my opinion, is that if we're thinking of your sheer essence, whatever you want to consider that to be, consciousness, energy, the Tao, God, the Godhead, whatever you consider that sort of deep down, untainted, pure essence of yourself. We all feel it. We all know that it's there. Whatever you want to call that. That is a singular. It doesn't come about by being compared to anything else, or it doesn't come about by being in relation to anything else. It is in and of itself. It is that which is. And so in this sense, in this metaphysical sense, if you want to figure out what your calling is, or what your purest desires are, or what it is that aligns you with the Tao, or the energy, or the consciousness, or the God, or the Godhead, whatever you want to call it, you have to extract yourself from the world of opposites and duality and plurality in order to align yourself with the singularity, which is what you are seeking as a singular point of focus. What is it that I want to do? What am I? Who am I? Where do I want to go? What do I want to be? Remove the duality. Go it alone. Align with the singularity. And this is the metaphysical aspect of why to take this path when you're seeking these things.